Indiegogo supporters, it's been a while. You've been getting some updates from me, I hope, but for the longest time, I've been promising some audio of Derek and I working on music together. So I've got Derek here with me. Hey, Derek, say hi to the Indiegogo supporters.
Hi to the Indiegogo supporters.
So we're just going to get to what we're doing, and you guys can listen in. I'm not going to do this like I'm conducting an interview or anything like that. Poor Derek has been sick in the hospital. He's had to buy programs, buy equipment just to do this stuff for our movie, so I'm very grateful to him. So anyway, we're finally to this point. So what do we have today, Derek?
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to audition some sounds and some sound design and make some selections. So some of the things that through the process of this is we want to make sure that we find something that Christopher kind of envisions as part of like background elements I'm looking for this type of sound around that. So what we're going to do is we're going to audition just some different sample libraries and some different synthesis engines, and just kind of give us a starting point where we can take some of the elements that have been written and then begin to flesh them out into full tracks and then apply the audio and then build on that.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And I do have the movie up, by the way, which I think before I forget, and I'm just going to say this, we won't dwell on it, but I'm going to do a screen share with you, by the way, so you can see my timeline, so we can kind of get a visual on what the music goes to. But I have the Quantum Terror on several different drives here at the house, but God forbid the house ever burn down and take them all out at once. We talked about possibly putting a good copy of it on your server too. So I don't want to forget about that. I'm just saying it out loud now. That's all I'm going to say now. We'll get to the music. Okay, so screen share and all right. So is this for the opening of the movie?
No, the opening. I actually don't have. I have a blank project in here, so I can just go throw the things up and then move them into the main project, which is a little too cumbersome to have and stream at the same time.
Okay.
So the opening, you actually have some audio in there, right?
I do have a little bit of audio in there. I don't know if it's on this particular timeline. Let's see. Oh, this is just the cleaned up audio, or the EQ'd audio that you did. It's not music or anything like that. So
let me see if I have that project.
it's all right.
Might not be on here.
Yeah. But I mean, no problem. We don't have to. I don't think we had that.
Well, the intro with what we did with the audio is we applied some sort of reverse convolution on some of I think it's the background sounds when we're looking at the eye. But you don't have any of that stuff in there, so that's fine.
No,
So
I don't. You played that for me, but you didn't send me a file of that. But I thought it was fantastic. I can't wait to drop it in.
I wonder. What do we have? I don't want to waste time on it right now. I'll send it over afterwards.
Yeah, let's do music. So, what scene are we first testing out, or are you more just doing incidental sounds and see what I like?
Well, no, there's some stuff written because there's the guitar, and that you just probably don't have it in that clip. One of the things is we have a blank placeholder for credits, and some of the motifs that we're kind of thinking of have a nice felt piano. This one's provided by the Noire. So you should be able to hear that, right?
Oh yeah, I can hear it just fine. Is this the one sampled from Alicia Keys' piano?
No, this is a different library. that the main theme will basically have this sound in there. We've got some strings and a little bit of synthesis that will kind of come in. It's a little bit of a slower piece,
Okay.
but it has some nice deep elements to it. That'll be kind of the piano that we'll be using probably throughout. Some of the other sound design that we're thinking right now are switch over to a different sampler over here. And this is where we need to kind of work and see how these elements. So if you went to one of the scenes like in the when they're underground, and this is where you need to kind of say, is this kind of what you're thinking of for that type of tone, that type of element?
Well, what I like about it is that it gives a sense of depth. Like the sound sounds like it's traveling down a tunnel and then coming back out. Like I like that idea of a presence. Like there are life forms in the air, in the actual literal air within the tunnel that are communicating in alien ways that we can't quite understand or have no hope of even. These characters don't even have any hope of realizing that what they're hearing, or if they're hearing it at all, is a presence. So it has a real sense of presence to it. I do like it a lot. It's definitely foreboding.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting instrument in here. This is done by Native Instruments.
I'm trying to find the file of the opening credits. I forget what folder I put it in. I was looking at it the other day going, it looks good. And now it's... Oh, that's cool.
And some of these are kind of allow for some performance. Like a lot of sort of deep synthesizer stuff.
Well, it seems to me like it matches the first thing you played for me. Like it's almost like a different part of it. Like that would be the opening, kind of as they're getting closer to the tunnel, you would hear something kind of like that. And then when they're actually in the tunnel looking down into the darkness, then the first thing you played for me would play out. Is that what you were thinking?
Well, I'm just thinking where would that sort of fit with you? Do you like that sound? Because there's a lot of sound design that's already been put in. What I'm looking for is letting me know if this is the right direction for some of the background stuff.
Well, that first one definitely was. What you're playing for me right now is, to me, has more of a sense of wonder to it. So like I said, it might be appropriate for outside of the tunnel, like when they're approaching. But getting inside the tunnel, I definitely feel like the first thing you played for me matches much better.
Okay.
Because what I like, and I know I've said this before, but I'll reiterate, is I really love the idea of filling up this movie with sound. So it's as much an audio experience as it is a visual experience.
Pastel drums of doom.
Yeah, I like those. I think that kind of thing is probably good for when they're climbing down that vertical tunnel, kind of giving the sense, even though it's a concrete tunnel, they're crawling down. I always imagined that on the other side of that concrete was actually a vast, infinite world of weightlessness and monsters that could easily crush that concrete tube and send them all spiraling into eternity. So I like the idea that there are kind of percussions in there, as if it's like things banging on the other side, threatening to just break apart whatever they're holding on to for dear life. You're getting very fuzzy all of a sudden.
The audio is?
Yeah, your voice is, and the audio. I'm wondering if it's one of my cables, or if it's I'm just twisting everything. Say something again.
Say something?
That sounds better. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds much better. I think this is veering a bit too much into Blade Runner territory. Like I see.
That's what I'm cycling through these things, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's very Blade Runner.
Yeah, that is very Blade Runner. Do you have a note about that first thing you played, though? Because I did like that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What did I do with the opening credits? I guess it doesn't matter. I'm searching for it. I'll find it later. The scenes... So we're talking about the tunnels here at the moment. I kind of like... I kind of like that sound for this scene here, too, where they're driving and it's kind of... They're talking, but it's, just focused on the road they're driving on rather than them as characters.
So we have audio.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Let's see. Because they're listening to the radio there. But if they're listening to the radio...
And there's some sound design over it.
Oh, there is? Okay. All right. Then never mind. Like this scene where they meet the professor. Do you have anything in mind for that at the moment?
Not this part.
What's that?
Oh, I'm trying to find the output of that.
And rein me back in if I'm all over the place, if you're trying to focus on a different spot than me. It's been a while since I scrubbed through this. This new 4K monitor actually really helps me to see what the final output of the image is going to be. And I gotta say, I'm really pleased with the way the movie looks. There are times where I'm worried about it, go like, did I do this right? But then I see Anthony's photography, his director of photography work, and it's gonna be all right.
No, for the life of me, figure out where to move that.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that. Checking my connections. Still getting some fuzziness. Anyway, let's see.
On the other machine.
It's all right. I shouldn't be distracting you from what you wanted to play for me. Do you have the main theme up that we can listen to? The one that you played for me the other night?
No, that was played live.
Oh, you played that live? I thought you were
Yeah.
playing me a recording. That sounded perfect.
No, that was me going through and saying, okay, this is what I'm next working on. That's what I'll probably be streaming later, working on that particular track.
I'll put your Twitch address in the description for the Indiegogo supporters so that they can get notifications when you're streaming. Because Derek will be streaming his work on the Quantum Terror live as he does it. Do you record that stuff when you're streaming, or is it just purely like it's there and it's gone?
No, I will. I just set the channel up basically so you could watch and kibitz while I'm doing it. Anyways,
Shut up, Winston. Dogs.
all right, I'm going to switch over to the next sample library. Here.
Hey, shut up, dog. Defender of the house from children riding past on bikes. I think what I want to keep away from, and what I think we can easily fall into when it comes to strings, is giving things a somber feeling rather than tension. And I think, we always talk about how David Lynch's sound design is. I just love how he really knows how to hit you with tension in all the right spots. And I think I'm trying to think, usually when Lynch has a sensibility where he goes for like those, what would you call them? Almost like beatnik guitar riffs when it comes to more sad moments, The Twin Peaks theme song comes to mind the most. And I'm not saying go for that. I really love the theme for Detective Richie is kind of like that cool kind of like Roadhouse guitar. I don't know if that's how you describe it. That's what I think of it as. Kind
of rock.
Yeah. But when it comes to
Jangly.
When it comes to like shots of, like Kristen's performance at the beginning is what I'm trying to get across there is more like, she's kind of in a fog. She's a bit confused, and how she feels comes full circle at the end of the movie. But it could easily, if we get too kind of stringy, it could easily be seen as we're opening up with like a, like a sad scene, like a scene of remorse or regret or something like that, which isn't what I don't want to put that across to the audience. So, that dog. I feel like we should come up with something that's less strings for those characters so that people don't see them as kind of like sad characters, but more of characters trying to figure something out that is not quite, they haven't quite reached it yet. Like, I want to reach out and strangle that dog. Yeah. But anyway, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can try to bring up that project on here.
I'm not saying don't use strings at all, because strings can be very cool, but
This copy of it. Has it?
there was something, I was just watching that KMB documentary, because I was so excited that I got followed by Greg Nicotero on Instagram. But there was a clip from an interview with John Landis. He says that moment the audience realizes we're not in the hands of a genius, we're in the hands of a maniac. I want to kind of give our audience the sense that they're in the hands of someone dangerous, someone that, if they could find a way to make a Lovecraftian creature reach out of the screen and grab them, he just might do it.
Yeah, I'm loading up this other project. I'll see if this has that audio in it. If not, it's on the other computer, which is down.
Yeah, that's all right. I should do a screen capture of these two. This is the look on the faces of Kristen and Paula. This is the look I want my audience to have when they watch the movie. I was watching people come out of was it The Turning with Finn Wolfhard? They were all coming out going like, that movie didn't make any sense. The ending was stupid. I'm like, I hope I don't get that reaction with my movie.
I have no idea what movie you were just talking about.
The Turning. It's like it's a gothic horror. The nanny comes to the house in the middle of nowhere, and it's a mansion, and there are creepy kids she's supposed to look after, and it turns out the house is haunted, and then there's this really weird end that everyone went, that what just happened, and that's all I know about it because I haven't watched the whole movie myself. I did watch Underwater though. Took Caitlin to see that, and I've never really seen Kristen Stewart in anything, and everyone talks about how terrible she is. So I was expecting it to be a terrible movie, and what I got was actually a really fun monster flick. And Kristen Stewart wasn't bad in it at all. She was just fine. And so maybe she's terrible in other movies, but not that one. I was watching her going like, I'd cast her. She did fantastic.
I think she's probably a better than competent actress who got, unfortunately, the popularity of Twilight.
She got shafted by that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't seen her in anything, so I couldn't judge her. I just know how other people feel about her. She did look like Eminem, though. But yeah, I was watching her going like, hey, if I'm a director and I get a performance like that, I'm happy.
Nuendo just crashed on me, so it's reloading.
Oh, okay. So even really powerful computers still have crashes.
Well, what I'm using OBS to go into a virtual NDI camera to bring into Skype,
Right.
which is, I think, taxing this a little more than normal.
Well, I know you got a powerful computer, and you built my computer. I still have crashes every once in a while. I just got updates from Adobe on all the software. They have like their 2000 versions, 2020 versions of everything, and I was having all sorts of problems, thinking like, what's going wrong? And I just realized it's just that when the 2020 versions came out, they didn't just update; they completely replaced the old versions. It's not like they just updated them. They deleted the old versions and put a new one. So I had to figure out where all my old plugins were and reinstall them into the new version. I had to go and reset all my, my cache drives and my scratch disks and all that stuff. And then, set the GPU like you instructed me to do. And every once in a while, I still come across something that I missed. I'm going, why is this doing this? And I go and check and realize the settings aren't right. So, did you just play something?
Yeah. So hold on here. I'm gonna share my screen.
You're gonna share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Ah, it's me.
Okay. So this actually has some of the stuff in there. So let's take a look here.
Oh, cool. Am I still sharing my screen with you, or did I unshare it?
It's all going to start over again.
I don't know. So this is probably the point where you're thinking that the strings here are too somber.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, that doesn't have any of the MIDI
Not sure.
automation or reverb on it either.
Deja vu.
Sorry about that.
I'm sure I've never been to this place before.
It's all right.
Never mind. I never really wanted to admit how much I loved her.
Your sister?
So what is this place? This is the last place that you saw her?
Brought you here. You see what I mean. Come on, you're gonna be very interested in what I have to show you. There.
My God, I'm gonna kill that dog.
That's a placeholder. So
Yeah. No, I
little
think.
other. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it doesn't seem quite as somber in that, how you performed it there. I was more just commenting on the particular sound of the strings as you were just kind of like playing through the different ones. But no, I think that's fine. I feel like there might need to be another layer of something in there, though, that
Yeah, I basically that's a scratch thing, because from there we kind of want to build on a couple things. So when it's we also didn't play the part. There's a string section that has sort of a large volume spike, but it's not like jump scare, but it does rise.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you have that one on there?
yeah, I'm trying to see. Trying to see. Um,
I'm sorry. I just don't know enough about this stuff to understand what you're telling me.
Come now. The two of your sisters, and she never enlightened you to her passion?
I'm mixed.
Well, I mean, she did. But she stopped when...
When she knew you'd never understand it. Well, maybe now that your friends are here, you can all put your heads together and glean a little bit of what I'm trying to get you to see.
How do we record a knocking sound without dogs barking? See, I love the clock ticking because it leads into the audio that's about to play.
Yeah.
You again, detective? I'm beginning to think you enjoy listening to me over-explain myself.
Mr. Cold, at this point I am not interested in anything you have to say, unless you want to make a confession.
Detective, I assure you I've done everything in my power to enlighten you, but...
Save it, Mr. Cold. I'm not here for you, I'm here for her. Samantha Carroll, would you mind stepping outside with me?
Her friends call her Sam. Okay, call her whatever you want.
That works so good. I love that. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that sounds like it's coming from the car radio.
Yeah.
You're right. It's down the road that way. They were pretty cool in there. They told me that everybody's GPS have been active now, something like that. There's some interference in the air. Everyone's going around in circles.
Well, we're right next to the highway. I don't really see us getting overly lost.
I'm wondering if we can lose that last line.
I know it's kind of weird driving your girlfriend to see her ex, but
I mean, we can.
we're
Oops.
Yeah.
There you can actually you hear the tail of what is sort of mixed, because it's not mixed in there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we could always mix the dialogue's going to need a lot of mixing along. This is. I don't worry about any of that because we're not printing the audio out.
Yeah, I know. I was just kind of in a thought because that, his last line about we're right by the road, or I forget what he says now, but it seems like what she said was a good lead out into the next part of the scene, where that last line kind of seems like, I don't know, it seems like more than we needed. So I was just thinking like maybe we can drop that line because the camera's not on him, so it wouldn't be like anyone would realize that there was a line missing.
We didn't have the organs going during this, or the drums for that matter.
Oh, there's organs with it?
I'm beginning
Yeah,
to
here,
think
I'll
you enjoy
actually-
listening to me over-explain myself.
Mr. Cold,
Oh, I like
at this
that.
point I'm not interested in anything you have to say, unless you want to make a confession.
Detective, I assure you I've done everything in my power to enlighten you, but...
Save it, Mr. Cold. I'm not here for you, I'm here for her.
In the version on the other computer, there's actually
Samantha
drums
Carroll?
and some bass.
Would you mind stepping outside with me?
Adds a little bit in there.
I like that organ because it gives it a bit of a Nick Cave flair.
Her friends call her Sam.
The tail on the organ is not clear.
Okay, call her whatever you want.
Now, one of the things that's here, I'm going to bring this over. So when we were talking about this sort of drone in the back, so here's the shadows. I start the audio from here. And this is basically, here's the sort of the trick of how I did that, is I cut the different audio at different points, and we get that interesting effect of where the audio is coming from by using low pass and high pass filters.
The highway, I don't really see us getting overly lost.
So if I'm gonna mute out so you can hear
I know
the
it's
sort of
kind
drone in the
weird driving
background.
your girlfriend to see her ex, but
Now I'm gonna mute the dialogue. So this is the actual underlying audio when you're like, yeah, maybe there could be a little bit of a drone here. We have some sound design coming from the London Contemporary Orchestra library. The LCO Textures, really good library from Spitfire Audio.
See, I love this drone so much, and I'm serious about this. I feel like we could, as they move along the highway, to kind of give a sense that they're starting to leave reality. I almost like the idea is as they talk, the audio, and tell me what you think of this, because you know you're a musician, you're the musician and the person mixing it, so I don't want to suggest something that would, you know, come off as not sounding professional in your mind or other people that may be listening. But I almost like the idea of the droning kind of dominating a little bit, so the audience kind of gets the sense that they're getting lost in this atmosphere and that they kind of have to strain a little harder to hear what they're saying. And you know, because
one of the things we could do, let's back this up a little bit and let's kind of play with that as an idea.
Okay.
everybody's GPS have been acting now, something like that. There's some interference in the air, everything's going around in circles.
Well, we're right next to the highway. I don't really see us getting
Oh.
overly lost.
Hold on.
You know, I know it's kind of weird driving your girlfriend to see her ex, but we're still friends, and I don't want her to be alone, you know, through all this shit. And besides, I don't know, I have a weird feeling about this Jacob guy,
What did she say about it?
you know? I just don't want her to be alone. Yeah, that's it. There's a wash tunnel. Why don't you pull over for a second? I want to take a look.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I like how you did that. And that was just on the fly. Wait, what'd you say? You kind of broke up there.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Forgot I need to be on mic. Yeah, we could definitely kind of work with that to just play with the audio coming in and out. If, you know, that sense to kind of bring up the actual, the sound textures there are much more about how it's performed. I mean, it's difficult to kind of see here, but if there's a lot of extra information in it, right? So here, let's pull this.
I also liked, before I forget, I also liked how the band Frankenstein on the radio kind of, it almost sounds like it keeps coming in like it's fighting to be there as well. And did you put some distortion on it or something, or was that just me? Or like some reverb?
Yeah. So let's actually take a look. Let's take a little look at that track here.
because, you know, for
Well,
anyone
yep.
listening, the song that we're referring to is by the band Frankenstein, and the lyrics actually do have significance to what's going to happen in the movie. So, you know, it's not just an incidental song playing on the radio. It's there for a reason.
And here it's just we're using basically a low and a high pass filter, but it is kind of if you take a look at the waveform's pretty compressed out. So it's adding, it makes it seem like, you know, there's a bunch of distortion there. We could certainly do that if we just solo that. Let's solo it and just hear it. About the dialogue. I'm gonna mute the text
Well,
too.
we're right next to the highway. I don't really.
We got another pad down there. See, now if I shut, you watch this. So it begins to actually fade out. It has a really long fade out over like 30 seconds and then the natural stuff comes up. But here, let's go back.
Yeah,
go to A/B.
I see
Okay,
what
the
you
interesting
mean.
part. So that's the normal audio, and then when we bring in the low pass and the high pass on there, so the frequency kind of gives it a little bit of that, not quite AM, but without actually touching any of the audio, we're just filtering it through an EQ.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The music kind of rises back up a little bit, so it naturally sounds like it's fighting for.
Yeah, and what that EQ does is it just dumps a bunch of frequencies there. So at like a 2.5K or something or 3K, we dump everything above that. So we're not really getting any of that information in there. And around 300 hertz, we just boop, bring it down, lower the gain, and it also cuts it off. That acts like a shelf.
This is fun. This program is amazing, and you play it like you play your instruments. You just kind of like go in there and.
Don't crash on me, Nuendo.
Whew.
All right. Version. This is my backup version. So there's some more of that sound.
Left.
Design.
Lucy and her boyfriend are here.
Yeah, this I like, and that fits the scene really well.
Has our dear detective finally grown tired of chasing his tail? Grown so weary of going over and over the same ground.
Noah, right?
Noah, yeah. Nice to meet you.
Everything he needs to find her is right here. I've even told him where Sylvia is, but he insists on continuing to ask me questions as if I haven't said anything at all. Just a small town cop out of his depth.
Oh, you told him, huh?
Okay, I have a comment for this, which is should I go ahead, or were you gonna do something?
Oh no, I stopped it. So.
Oh, okay, all right. So I love this music, but I think it playing through the entire time they're talking around the table, is a bit too relaxing. So
okay.
I think when he looks up, right when they're walking to the table and they kind of like, she does the introduction. Yeah, here. Like I would build up some sort of static, but when he looks up, I'd have it all stop. Not to say that I'd have no music at all, but I think it needs something different once they start to talk. And I almost feel like it, they're like picking up, pieces of paper, and he's referring to books and that sort of thing. I almost feel like there's, it should be a subtle, but building sense of foreboding around what they're talking about, rather than just kind of, because right now that I like that, like I said, that hypnotic feel when they walk in, because you see the Nefertiti statue, and it's kind of like she's watching over the room like a presence. And, but I feel like Jacob is he's a force in himself, and he's the thing that is going to start kind of stirring stuff up. And so I want to get a sense that as soon as he looks up and notices them, then there's a definite shift, and he may or may not be connected to the entities they're going to be in contact with already. So I almost want something that like ties him to that. If that makes sense.
Hold on.
I think anyone listening should make a drinking game out of every time I say "if that makes sense."
Okay.
You're breaking up.
Oh no, I'm just kind of talking out loud as I'm.
Oh, okay.
Something a little.
This is amazing. Like I say something, you just start changing it in real time. Like that sound you were playing for me before, when I said it might fit them going down the vertical tunnel. Something like that might be good. Almost. Was it for this scene, or was it some? No, it was a different scene I was talking about. Like almost as if you're dropping pieces of glass on the ground, but maybe something kind of. I don't know. What do you call it? Like when you play kind of screeching notes on a violin, it just goes like, meep. That was my impersonation of a violin. Thank you very much. Wow, you've got all of these libraries. How much storage space did you say all this stuff takes up on your computer?
Terabytes.
Terabytes.
Yeah, I think BBC is, gosh, I think that's over half a terabyte alone.
I think I don't know. Like, I'm not going to ask how much you spent between the equipment you bought, the programs you bought, and the libraries, but I'm beginning to wonder if you spent as much money on the audio as I spent producing the film.
These can get a little expensive, but so let's start doing it with the mic. What I'm going to do is I just added in a new instrument on here. So sort of the process of this is we go and
That might be a bit too intense, but...
So, well, let's pick something. No, that's not the right one.
No.
A lot of this is going through and, you know, just kind of testing a few things. You know, it's like, okay, does this have the right feel? Are we on the right track? Some of these are basically they're samples that you then perform out.
Yeah, so far these all sound like he's about to murder them, which isn't quite what I'm going for.
Right.
More of just like there's something off about him, and it just kind of almost like a build and almost like a record needle scratching, just like, but not a record needle scratching. I'm using.
Oh.
Let's see if I can read. What's bed bugs?
Oof.
Are you playing notes, or is that just the thing that you're kind of scrubbing around, giving you examples?
No, I'm playing stuff. What this is doing is it's mixing. One axis is the sort of dominant instrument because there's two clusters of instruments.
Gotcha.
And the other axis is sort of the intensity. So
I like it on the lower. This I like when you're kind of on the lower end. Bring it over to the what is that, a French horn?
Yeah, horn section. Now the other thing is we can go in and kind of apply. I want to drag some color in there. Two harmonics. Let's go classic distortion.
I think even less strings and more. I know I said strings before, but I like that horn section.
Oh, Nuendo, don't crash.
Trademark Derek Hunt. I'm going to get you t-shirts to say that.
Did it come back? Came back right as I'm going into Task Manager. Look at how much memory it's taking. 14 gigabytes.
Oh, wow.
Girlfriend's here.
Jacob, this is Lucy and Noah, right?
No, yeah.
Oh. Girlfriend's here.
Jacob.
Yeah, I like that, how it kind of, because that then becomes the sense of foreboding over Jacob. I don't think I'd want it playing through the whole conversation. I think, you know, have it fade out, but also, you know, every once in a while with like little, you can bring music in with like punctuating moments.
Yep. So I mean let's keep. It's interesting.
Your screen share is getting kind of pixelated here.
Yeah, it's acting like it's wanting to crash a little bit. Oh, could let's do this. Let's change the mic position to the. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over. Bring this up now. We want to play with the volumes on this, and when it's mixed, it'll be a little different.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll
Back
leave the
a
mixing
little-
to you because this is just, you know, it's a straight conversation. You know, things like the car where it's kind of dominating, that's about as much input on a mix as I can give. But this, I think I'm going to leave to your judgment.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to let it play, and then we'll just see a little bit how this feels. Okay?
Okay.
So, start.
Detective finally grown tired of chasing his tail. Grown so weary of going over and over the same ground. Oh, girlfriend's here. Detective finally grown tired of chasing.
All right, I'm going to pause that and come over and lower a little bit of what we're hearing here. Bring that down.
Detective finally grown tired of chasing his tail. Grown so weary of going over and over the same ground with him. Oh, girlfriend's here.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this.
Noah, right?
Is it breaking up on your end, or is that?
Finder is right here.
I think it's bringing up going across.
Okay.
Here. Bring this up. All right. And
Detective finally grown tired of chasing his tail. Grown so weary of going over and over the same ground with him. Girlfriend's here.
Jacob, this is Lucy and Noah, right?
Noah, yeah. Nice to meet you.
Finder is right here. I've even told him where Sylvia is, but he insists ask me questions as if I haven't said anything at all. Just a small town cop out of his depth.
Oh, you told them, huh? They found.
We're not sure. We think that's just hiding.
Hide it? Why? Because you broke up with him?
Oh, you've been talking to our former professor, Rathbone. He's exhibited an extraordinary amount of concern for his old student and quite a lot of animosity towards me, don't you think?
Well, you're not the one who's missing, are you?
I'm sorry. Got on the wrong foot. I want Sylvia back as much as anyone. I can assure you, it's not fun being a suspect in everyone's mind.
Lucy. Can't.
Yeah, that's working.
I'm gonna do. Yeah, I like that. The placement's got to be placement's a little too different. I liked pulling the ambience back, so they're giving us a choice of 3 different sort of mic mixes. What that's basically going to mean when they recorded the instruments, they had one that was a proper sort of room position. One was a close up on the instrument, and then was probably a room ambient one. So I like that pulls it out. It makes it a little more muted. So what I want to see is how it is with this.
Detective finally.
Winston, quiet.
Because what we could do is as it's coming in, so let's
Detective
play
finally
this
grown
again.
tired of chasing his tail. Grown so weary of going over and over the same ground with him. Oh,
I think a volume there
here.
is.
This is Lucy.
I like the idea of
And-
bringing that sound up as he looks up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice to meet
Or
you.
sort of when he's there, we.
Here.
Sorry, you broke up a bit there.
He insists on continuing to small town cop.
Oh, you told them. Huh? Then what haven't they found?
We're not sure. We think that she's hiding.
Hide it? Why? Broke up with him?
Oh, you've been talking to former officer Rath. He's exhibited an extraordinary amount of concern for his old student and quite a lot of animosity towards me, don't you think?
Well, you're not the one who's missing, are you?
I'm sorry. We've gotten off on the wrong foot. I want Sylvia back as much as anyone else.
I'm gonna play around a little bit with.
Yeah. See, for this scene though, I like the idea of punctuating moments with them. Like when he stands up, like Anthony came up with that shot where we're looking at Jacob through Lucy's arm on her hip, like she's kind of trying to dominate him, and then he stands up out from that and the camera follows him up. I love the idea of the audio being punctuated as he does that. And there's a scene at the end, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a scene after they kind of leave the table and Sam comes to Jacob and says his name and he looks up at her. That's a piece of reverse footage. I like the idea of kind of just giving him a little bit of a sense of alienness to him that was so subtle that you wouldn't go like, oh, that was some weird crap he did. It's just instead of looking up, he was looking down, and I just reversed the footage and it made his eyelids do this kind of weird thing. So I wanted to punctuate that as well, kind of as a weird little moment. I don't know if you noticed that in the footage.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about this sort of reverse element. There's a lot of. I gotta think of the best way.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you can play around with this, and ultimately, like I've said before, musically and audio-wise, I want this to be your show. You know, you're putting so much into it, and I really love the work you're doing, and I'm not an audio expert, so some of my suggestions are, like, I try and keep my suggestions really loose, just, you know, the bare bones of what I'm thinking, and then, you know, let you take it and run with it and make it your own. That's why I didn't want to do temp music.
Yeah. Well, temp music ends up working, you know, in such a way that it influences exactly what you're gonna write afterwards.
Yeah, and I don't.
That's an. I'm gonna bring it up just so you can kind of hear. I changed a couple of the instruments. Now this is obviously full, which we're not doing, but listen to the subtlety of having the waterphone. If we pull it back. I don't know, it's probably difficult to hear on Skype.
Yeah, and another thing, if too many noises come in at once, it starts to break up the reception. So, like, if the music's playing and the audio's playing and you talk, like, it starts to, like, kind of break up a bit. But
I wonder if it's cleaner on Twitch.
probably will be. I'm hearing myself come back at me at the moment too. Did you move your microphone closer to your speaker?
I actually don't have speakers going on. I think that you're coming in through Skype. Must be doing something with that.
Yeah.
On the return channel. Yeah. Okay. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with this a little bit. I'm actually going to save it. So.
This was good, though. This is what we've been trying to get, like, even before Christmas time, we were trying to get to this point. So it's really nice to finally be here with your, you're able to feed your audio through Skype and show me the program, because it feels like every step we've taken towards audio has had some sort of because it took you some time to get patches for the program, and then you ordered a special, I don't know what it is, like device for patching audio through Skype. And it's like everything took more time than you anticipated to get to it, and then you had to get it all wired properly. So
yeah, there's a lot of complexity in this, and that's the reason why we're looking at sort of a backup version of this, because the other rig, you wouldn't think about it in terms, of. So when you're doing video, you can offload a lot of that processing to the GPU, and it does it, remarkably well. CPUs are horribly inefficient for that. With audio programs, latency is what matters the most, and your PC's generally not set up for low latency audio, because it's something that's very as a subtle element to it. Musician, if the timing is off and you press a button, or on a MIDI controller, or like on this big Roland keypad, if I hit something on that and it's delayed out too long, the actual performance of the music isn't there because you're not hearing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sound takes long. So you spend a lot of computing resources, so you need lots and lots and lots of memory, and you need lots and lots of CPU cores. So the main machine that actually runs some of these samples doesn't necessarily come off of here, was an AMD Threadripper, which had 32 cores and 128 gigs of RAM.
Oh,
and the
wow.
one that we're putting on, that has 48 cores and 256 gigs of RAM. And then there's a third machine that's down right now that has another 256 gigs of RAM, and they runs a program called Control, loads it up in Vienna Ensemble, and then, like for example, we would have this loaded on another machine, we were controlling it, and then we built the latency that's kind of happening here. So Nuendo's taking up 15 gigs, and on the other machine it would take up 96 gigs of memory.
Wow. What do I have on my computer? Just like 28 gigs of RAM?
Oh, maybe 32?
No, I think it's
probably
20.
16. Is it an odd number?
I think it was just below 32. So I think it was 28, but it's amazing. You'd think with visual effects that would be requiring much more, but it sounds like you had you need a lot more for audio. Although I'm sure big visual effects companies have render farms, so.
Yep, and the workload, the big thing with VFX workloads is you're only processing one frame at a time, so it's the type of thing that you can batch. So like with a render farm, if you're rendering out a scene, it's taking that model, it then calculates it, builds it down, but it's only doing one frame. So that one frame you can then anticipate, and if you have lots of cores or many machines, you can say, oh, farm this out to 100 machines, each with 64 cores, and that workload can happen because frame 1 is here, frame 2 is here, frame 3 is here, and then at the end you just need to take the output of that and then put it together.
Right. Yeah.
The audio is slightly different. I mean, they're both similar problems. The nice thing about video workloads is they scale well. That's why render farms work so well, right? Or that you can solve a problem by throwing many more CPU cores at it.
Right.
Where audio is like, oh, now this thing is now off a little bit, and it's touchy. And Windows is more powerful, potentially, than sort of Macs, but Macs have a better internal audio engine, which helps a little bit with the latency.
Are you working on You're not working on a Mac, though, are you?
No, actually, when we started doing this, I had a Hackintosh, but the thing is like there's no the machine here. That's why I'm waiting for Amazon to bring me thermal paste so I can get it up and running tonight for replacement. this has 48 cores. There is a 48 core Mac Pro. It costs $16,000.
Woo.
You know, and that's before you can start throwing this stuff in there. This is a much easier and obtainable sort of workstation where, you know, the CPU here is $1,500 rather than whatever Apple is going to charge you for, you know, a Xeon, like an 8-core Xeon at $6,000. And the RAM is a fraction of the price. So it's best to just stay in Windows land and kind of deal with scaling outward with other machines than trying to deal with the Mac. Even though I think that in some cases the Mac stuff's a little less fiddly.
Well, this is fantastic. I mean, I'm just recording audio, so people listening aren't going to see everything I'm seeing, but the program is impressive, and watching you work with it so quickly and efficiently, it's definitely been worth the wait, and the music sounds incredible. I'm really happy with it, and I hope the little bit that people have heard today gives them some confidence and makes them feel a bit better on how long they've had to wait, because I think we're past year 4 now. I think we're bleeding into year 5. But in our defense, David Lynch took 6 years to make Eraserhead. So, you know, we're still ahead of David Lynch.
There we go.
All right. So is that it for today? We gonna wrap it up, or?
Yeah, that's it for today. Yeah,
Okay.
I might end up streaming later, but if I do, I'll just record them and I'll just screen share the whole thing.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm gonna end this recording. I'm not hanging up with you yet, but I'm gonna end the recording. So, hope that was interesting to the Indiegogo supporters. You know, I know there was some dead air a little bit here and there, but you know, if you're doing other stuff around the house and listening to us work, it would interest me. So I hope it interested you, and I want to say thank you to all you guys for hanging in there for as long as you have. We are making it worth your while. So.